I don't know what you make of this rhetorical dance that we're hearing about the extent of damage, starting with President Trump suggesting that Fordo was obliterated. We've heard more tempered comments from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and other analysts who are looking at this, including the IAEA. Did we go far enough?
Well, I don't think the job is finished. I think it's very difficult to make evaluations of how effective we've been, for example, at Fordo, which by definition was under a mountain. It's very difficult to see inside. But my guess is that what the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Kane, said is accurate, that there was severe damage. We'll be checking further and seeing what happened. There are a lot of other pieces, though, that need to be put into play here. We know, we've seen from overhead photographs that during the 60-plus days of negotiation that President Trump offered, the Iranians did a fair amount of work trying to move perhaps uranium stockpiles, perhaps sensitive machinery out of some of these key target areas. We may or may not know where that is, but I don't think this is over yet, just on the mission of destroying these 3 sites.
Well, and on that mission, administration officials have maintained today that the objective was solely to focus on Iran's nuclear capabilities, that this objective was not regime change. But, sir, even if it wasn't the objective, could that still be the end result, and how?
Well, exactly. And even as we just heard, the president has been tweeting about regime change. I mean, I think regime change has to be the objective because the Ayatollahs are never going to give up their pursuit of nuclear weapons. They have to be forced out of power. That's the only shot we have at really lasting peace and security in the Middle East. And a strike like this, and potentially others, and certainly Israel's ongoing attacks, can disrupt the regime, can destabilize it. Look at the choice that the top military officials and key Ayatollahs now have to face after the U.S. attack. They've been beaten badly by the Israelis ever since Hamas's attack out of Gaza on October the 7th, 2023. Now they have to make a choice. Do they want to take on a second military adversary in the form of the United States? They may well do it. Look, it's a regime run by medieval religious fanatics. They may well retaliate against the United States, but they would be making a big mistake from the point of view of regime survival.
Well, when we consider the day after, whether it's an attack on the Al-Assad air base, as we saw after the killing of Qasem Soleimani, maybe against Bahrain, the home of the Fifth Fleet, maybe it's something we're not thinking of here, what would be the U.S. response? What should it be?
Well, I think there are 3 categories of possible targets. One, obviously, is more attacks on Israel. Second would be attacks against the Gulf Arab states, the oil-producing nations of the Gulf. And third, on the U.S., deployed military forces, our consulates, our embassies, private American citizens in the region, and terrorist attacks against Americans and others around the world, including in this country. Obviously, our first concern is the Americans, but we're going to do everything we can to defend Israel. And I think we should make it clear to the Gulf Arab states and Jordan and Egypt that we'll be defending them, too. We have a common interest against this Iranian threat. And it really, at this point, is much harder for Iran to do what they might like to do, given the pounding that they've been taking from Israel, given that their terrorist proxies, Hamas and Hezbollah, have been badly beaten. Their key ally, the Assad regime in Syria, has fallen. This is not the Iran it was on October the 6th, 2023. That's for sure.
Well, as we consider what capabilities Iran may have to retaliate militarily, what if it just is in the form of Iran no longer cooperating or participating in, say, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, no longer allowing IAEA inspectors to monitor what Iran is doing? Even if we may have diminished the threat of Iran's nuclear capability in the short term, does that not potentially risk, if they were to exit that agreement, much greater danger in the long term?
No, it wouldn't make any difference at all. They've been violating the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty for 25 or 30 years as it is now, because their commitment under that treaty was not to seek nuclear weapons in any form, and that's exactly what they've been doing. So withdrawal from the treaty is just meaningless. And as for the IAEA, look, it's been excluded from key sites, the weaponization activities and many others, for quite some time. IAEA is a good agency. I have a lot of respect for it, but it's not an intelligence agency. Frequently, the most important information that the IAEA deals with, we have given them.
Iran's parliament has voted to close the Strait of Hormuz, as you've heard. You may not take that seriously, John Bolton, but I wonder what our capability would be. If we see Iran begin to lay mines, could we stop that, or is there another way that they could close the strait?
Well, there are a number of ways they could try and do it, and that's why we've put substantially greater naval assets in the region, more on the way. This is something I think that may be more bluster than anything else. It can raise the level of danger, but we're fully aware that this has been a possibility. And if they try it, it won't simply be clearing mines away from the Strait of Hormuz that we do. I expect we would put much of the Iranian Navy on the bottom of the Red Sea, and we would be striking other targets inside Iran. This is a no-win proposition for them if they up the stakes that way.